Sheila Shorts. We're at number 9. I wanted to come back to you really quickly today because I had a little something on my mind. And I'm going to have to take my time with this because I have to work through it. I've been thinking about it, but I hadn't really like put it together. But, I was thinking about relationships. And I mentioned previously in the episode that we are not qualified to be with anyone if we're not qualified to be with ourselves. And that is not that is not from me. That's a quote from someone that I listen to. And so I started to think about insecurities. And I feel like it's something that we all have. And for me, something, the things that I'm most insecure about are the things that I don't talk about and I don't bring up. Um, Dealing with relationships and things like that, not so insecure, but there's some internal things that I struggle with. And so, but all these things come out when you're dealing with people, and the more intimate the relationship becomes, the more all these things come and like rear their ugly head, and they become like pink elephants in the room. And so I've talked about a little bit about abandonment and rejection and things like that, and defense mechanisms that we develop over the years. And so one of the things that I notice is how we tend to project different feelings that we have on other people. And, we'll tell them if we're thinking that, oh, you don't want to be with me, or, you don't like me, and I'm just simplifying it. We'll say that in a response, and we may say it being coy, but we're really projecting our own feelings out there. Oh, you're trying to get rid of me, or whatever the case may be. And it's really, I've spoken to some, I have brothers and things like that. I've spoken to them to see what their feelings were about these kind of things, and they told me it's something that they hate. And so I try to elaborate that it's something that we do when we're projecting, we're feeling a little bit insecure. And I think it comes from our fight or flight instinct. When we don't feel something comfortable, or we don't feel it just the way we want to feel it, we have a tendency to project things on other people. And maybe it's an attempt to start a fight. I don't know. Or maybe it's an attempt to get an understanding, but not an attempt that comes from the right place. And when I say that, I guess that's where I'm going. It's coming from the right place, a place of vulnerability, a place of transparency, and a place of collaboration. Because in any relationship, I think if you want to be intimate, you definitely need to be vulnerable. You need to really want to communicate, and you have to collaborate, because bringing two people together is very difficult. We all have our own wants, we all have our own brain, we all think a certain way. And so I don't think finding a soulmate is finding the person who thinks exactly like you or wants exactly the same thing as you, but it's finding the person that you complement, and working together through your insecurities and things like that, and your things that you do to protect yourself, like projecting different feelings, which is just a defense mechanism. And I found for what works for me is having someone who calls me on my stuff so that I can say, hey, you know, um, yeah, well, maybe that's not quite what I meant. Let me speak clearly and say how I'm feeling, and we can address it rather than me throwing out some crazy comment and thinking you're supposed to just take it, because a lot of times people won't take it. So I guess the effectively is what I'm saying is all these things, everything I ever say, I think on here us, comes back to us being okay with ourselves, knowing ourselves, finding a way to communicate our needs to others, finding a way to take care of ourselves, to protect ourselves, all these different things. It all comes back to us. And sometimes we try to protect ourselves through our defense mechanisms, through projection, deflection, or whatever. But I think it's time to remove the veil and to deal with what is actually real, to communicate from the heart, and you know resist our desire to flee, to fight or flight, but communicate directly from the heart. Let folks know exactly what you're thinking. Come with genuine communication, and don't project and tell other people what they are thinking. but allow them to respond and not react. That comes from my lost files. One thing, I've been guilty of doing over the years is having a reaction to different things that have happened to me. An angry reaction, a pissed off reaction, I'll say it, and doing something. But we need to learn how to protect ourselves and be mature enough to not react to every stimuli that is given us, but actually have a response. So it may be a response that clearly articulates, I feel like, let's see, I'm not even going to practice that right now, but a response that is articulate, that reflects your standpoint, not what you think someone else's standpoint is, because we can't read their mind, nor can we project what feelings that we think they're having so we can have whatever response that we're going to have. We just have to come from a genuine place, a place of authenticity, and communicate. And I hope that makes sense. So that's where I am. First of all, we have to be okay with ourselves. We have to sit with ourselves, understand ourselves. We have to evaluate and know that there are different defense mechanisms that we have acquired over the years. And then we have to see how they work so that we can capture them and dismiss them and operate from a healthy, a vulnerable, and a collaborative position rather than a defensive and a projecting or deflecting position. Those things don't work. They don't get us the response that we want. They might get us a reaction. Reactions I tend to think are negative, but it won't get us the response we want, because oftentimes we're looking for a change in behavior or a change in communication, something like that. So we have to come from a good place. We have to understand ourselves. We have to know our trigger points. We have to know what our toxic ways are, toxic ways of communication are that do not elicit the best response, and make sure that we are coming from a genuine place. So I hope you understand. It all starts with us. Let's evaluate where we are. Let's sit with ourselves. Let's understand us and try to communicate effectively so that we have better relationships, so that we don't elicit the fight or flight in ourselves nor in other people. I hope this lands well with you. And maybe I didn't take my time as much as I wanted to, but this is a short now. We have a limited amount of time. But I hope to see you on the next Lovin Sheila, and we'll get into all this in more detail.